Hey everyone, and welcome to my 2023 stats video. We're officially now in 2024, so it's time to go through some of my 2023 stats, see what I did well, see where I could improve upon, all of this kind of stuff. So I'm going to move slightly over here so we can see all of the graphs and all of their glory here, and let's start talking about it. I'm going to start off with the totals. So the total number of books I read last year was 202, which is less than I did in 2022, funnily enough. I read something like 280 that year, but I'm still really happy with that. I was only planning on reading like 120, so I have nearly doubled that, and I mean, I would have been happy with just 120 in the first place. I should say right now that a lot of this is graphic novels as well, which I can speed through in about an hour each time, so that's where the numbers are sort of boosted a bit, but I'm still really happy with that number. It means I'm reading a lot of books and hopefully staying on top of my TBR, which is great, but when we get to where I got these books from, that may change, but at the moment I'm very proud of that. In terms of the average number of books read per month, I was reading on average about 16 books, which is great. Again, a lot of that is graphic novels, so please take that with a pinch of salt, but I'm still pretty happy with that number. And in terms of a total number of pages read, it is 44,234. So that is a ridiculous number of pages. I'm very happy with that number of pages, to say the least. Then if we go on to the books read per month, we can see the sort of graph here, and you can see exactly where there was a new Marvel film came out, because my reading spiked at that point. So it was in February, which was Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was May with Guardians of the Galaxy, and then November was the Marvels, but I wasn't reading as much in November because I was also running around Yelk and then Newcastle and a whole load of other things, so I did not have that much time. I also had a massive spike in reading in August, just because I was doing a 30 graphic novels in 30 days challenge, which meant I was reading 30 graphic novels on top of any other book I could get my hands on. So yes, that's fine. And I mean, I'm pretty happy with these numbers. A lot of this is graphic novel reading, inflating it a lot more than it would be if it was just like your average novel, but I'm still really happy with these. I usually aim to read about 6 books per month, so the fact that I have doubled that nearly every single month, if not tripled it or quadrupled it, I am still pretty happy with that, so that is fantastic. Then if we go through books by type, we can see that graphic novels took over entirely, once again with 67.3% of what I read, which is surprising no one. I mean, it's not surprising me at all, because, I mean, I just saw that graph, and I knew I was reading a lot of graphic novels, and I mean, I love reading graphic novels, I just didn't realise it was almost 3/4 of what I read. I mean, that is a ridiculous statistic, especially considering when that I read 54 novels this year, and then if you add the novellas and also the anthologies, that's up to 66 books, like actual novels, and I still managed to actually over double that, the amount of graphic novels. I'm not going to try and balance that out, I think. I'm just had a thought about that. I'm not going to try and balance it out because I love reading graphic novels too much. I also own a website that is dedicated to Marvel Comics, so I need to get my research in. But I'm thinking next year I may try and read just a few more novels, just to not balance it, but just to make it a little bit more even. I'm still thinking it's going to be like 60-40, but I mean, if I could get it to 60-40, that'd be great. It's nearly 70-30. I definitely need to do better on that one, because the majority of the things I buy are novels, so I should probably read them. So yeah, that's going to be a thing next year. And then if we go into the format of the books that I read, that was 38.6% physical, which works out as 78 physical things, then 107 ebooks, which works out at 53% of my reading, and then 8.4% was audio, which works out at 17 audiobooks. And I thought I only read 12 audiobooks last year, because I usually average at about 1 a month, so that's great. I'm really happy with that, to say the least. I think I bumped that up a little bit by like car journeys and things where I listen to audiobooks, but I'm still really happy with those numbers. They are not numbers I want to change at all. I know that the majority of the things I read are on ebook and things like this, because I read a lot of things on like Marvel Unlimited and stuff, which is all online, so I'm not particularly bothered with those stats. I mean, they're just interesting to me. I'm not going to try and change them at all. They're just fun. Then if we go into author identity, the only thing that was actually tracking, unfortunately, with an actual number that I could look at was the authors of colour, which came out at 41, and then I had to quickly count up my LGBTQI plus authors, disabled authors, and authors who had a combination of identities, which was a further 34, so that makes 75 in total, which is quite frankly not good enough. And it's getting closer to the 50-50 mark that I really want it to be in terms of authors of colour, LGBTQI plus authors, disabled authors, all the rest of it, versus straight, cis, white, able-bodied authors, but it's still not quite there yet, so I'm definitely going to have to work some more on this. It's an improvement on last year, I think, but that's still nowhere near good enough. So that is definitely something I'm going to have to work on more next year. Then if we look again at the representation in terms of the characters I was reading, I had 9.9% of the books I read were had queer characters in, 17.8% had characters of colour in them, there was 4.5% of the books I read had disabled characters in them, 1.5% had characters with mental health issues in, 25.2% had multiple identities in there, and then also another 0.5% had something that was known as other that the spreadsheet didn't track. I will say that I'm glad that this is more 60-40 in terms of like diversity of the characters I'm reading, but definitely not good enough in terms of authors. So I think what I need to do is read more own voices books. That will definitely boost that, so I think that's definitely going to be a goal for the next year going ahead. Then if we go through the author status, we can see here that 71.3% of the books I read were all from authors I've read from before, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm fine with this. I do not want to change this whatsoever, because obviously I want to be going back to the authors I really love over and over again. I think some of this may be from me like reading books from the same series, but I mean, I'm still pretty happy with that. That's fine. It just means I'm continuing on with series, which is something I really want to do. 25.2% of the books I read were from authors I hadn't tried before, which is still great. That means I'm still discovering new authors. And then 3.5% were debut authors. So I think in terms of this one, I'm pretty happy with those stats. I don't want to like start changing like how many books and authors I'm going back to at all, because I mean there's a reason why I like those authors, so I'm not going to try and like stop reading them or anything. But I think I would like to maybe read some more debut authors this year, because that I don't think is enough debut books, so I'd like to maybe read a few more of those and just support more debut authors. But I mean, I'm still pretty happy with those numbers. I've got a good mix of reading new to me authors and then also authors I really enjoy, so pretty happy with those numbers. Then if we go over to the acquired section, as in where were the books I was reading coming from, so 79.9% were from books I already owned. That is fantastic, because obviously that's what I want to be doing. I want to be cutting down that TBR even as I grow it, so that's absolutely fine. I'm really happy with that number. I read 8.5% from Audible. That's fine, but I have switched it now over to Libro FM because they're more like fairer company, so I've changed that over, but that's just all of my audiobooks, so that's fine. I borrowed 11%, and by that I mean Marvel Unlimited. That borrowed is just Marvel Unlimited, I guarantee you. All of that is just all of the comics I borrowed from Marvel Unlimited, so that's fine. It just means I'm using my subscription and it's coming in handy. It definitely is. It saved me a ton of money, to say the least, so that's absolutely fine. And then that 0.6% from the library definitely needs hiring. That definitely needs hiring, I think, in the new year, because I really should have read more than that from my library, but I mean, my library does not have that many options in terms of like ebooks and audiobooks and stuff that I want to borrow. But maybe this year, as I try out some new stuff, maybe I'll try the library again. But yeah, I think that needs hiring, because I really love like supporting the library and all the rest of it. I just really need to do that more often. That stat is the one I want to change. Everything else is fine, but the library one I definitely want to change and make that bigger, to say the least. Definitely. Everything else is fine, just I need to borrow more from the library. definitely. Then if we go for intended audience, 60.4% was YA, which is absolutely fine. I knew that was coming because I spend a lot of time reading like graphic novels. As I keep on saying, I list all of them automatically as YA unless they are explicitly stated otherwise, because for me a lot of them feel YA and they feel like they are intended for a teenage audience, so that's absolutely fine. And then also a lot of that is the YA books I was also reading. Again, absolutely fine, completely and utterly like fine with that. I don't want to change it. Then 9.4% middle grade. I only read 19 middle grade books last year. I was sure I read more than that, so that's definitely going to have to change because I really like middle grade and I own a lot of middle grade, so clearly I'm not reading those, so I definitely need to get on that immediately. Then in terms of adult, I read 30.2%. That is absolutely fine. I don't really like mind how much adult and YA I read, but I need to get more middle grades in my life, clearly, because that's not enough. I love middle grade. Why did I read so few middle grades last year? I have no idea, but I'm definitely going to try and read more of those next year, without doubt. Then if we go over to the average rating, and I'm pretty happy with these ones as well, because I didn't have a single 1 or 1.5 star rating. That's great. Then the 2 and 2.5 star ratings, I only had 4 books for that, so I reckon that was probably Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because I really wasn't fond of those, so that's absolutely fine. And then the 3 stars, I had 33 of those, 16 3.5 stars, 128 4 stars, 4 4.5 stars, and 17 5 stars. So I'm pretty happy with that in the end, because that means I really know my reading taste quite well at this point, so pretty happy with that. And for an average rating to be 3.8, which is nearly 4 stars, again, that's absolutely fine. I'm really happy with that because it means I know my reading taste, I'm happy with my reading taste, and I'm enjoying the things I'm reading. That's absolutely fine. I'm not going to try and change that or anything. That just means I'm pretty much know my reading taste at this point, which is great, and that's all I really care about, because I don't want to be reading stuff I don't enjoy, things like this. So that's absolutely fine. I'm really happy with those numbers. And then if we go into the books read by genre, as we can see, it is mostly sci-fi and fantasy, with 52% being fantasy and 41.1% being sci-fi, with thriller, contemporary and horror just sort of taking up little bits of space in between there. And I'm fine with that, to be honest, because I know I love sci-fi and fantasy. I know that fantasy is my favourite genre, so that's absolutely fine. Most of that sci-fi may be Doctor Who and different Marvel comics to do with people like Iron Man, and obviously the Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, and the Marvels and things, because they're set in space and dealing with different bits of technology and things that I count as sci-fi, so that's absolutely fine. Horror, I would like to maybe make that a little bit bigger this year, because I do enjoy a horror book, so hopefully I can make that a little bit bigger this year. Thriller, I've got no idea what that was, but I mean, I probably enjoyed it, so that's absolutely fine. I will find out what that was and maybe try and see if I can find anything else within that genre. And then finally 2.5% contemporary, and that will be Elle McNichol and then also Heartstopper, which is absolutely fine. I'm happy with those numbers. It means I possibly need to check out more contemporary, because all of those contemporaries I really enjoyed, but I mean, I'm pretty happy with those numbers. There's nothing really I want to change further than more horror in there, maybe a few more contemporaries and a few more thrillers, but I'll see how my year goes. I'm pretty happy with the genres I'm reading, and if these numbers stay basically the same next year, I'm still pretty happy with it, because I'm still hitting all of those genres that I really enjoy. And yeah, I think that's about it in terms of the stats. The 2 things I need to work on that I'm not happy with is how much I am reading from my library, so I definitely want to hire that more next year. And then also I still need to keep on working on the diverse author front, but apart from that, I'm still pretty happy with those numbers. They are pretty much as I expected. I expected to read a lot of sci-fi fantasy, I expected to read a lot of comics, all the rest of it, and I would also like to read more middle grade. Thinking about it, that is the other one I really want to focus on. But apart from that, I'm still pretty happy with these numbers. They are basically as I expected, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with them. And with that, I think I'm going to leave this video here, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me your favourite stat from last year, I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a graph emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which is the reason why I read so many Marvel comics for research, so check that out if you are interested, as well as a link as well down below to my digital digital reading journal template that you can download for free if you want to check that out for yourself and try digital reading journaling this year. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!